in our world today, especially. And so what is this thing we call emotional expression? This is really taking a look at our ability, our tendency to create visibility and transparency around what we're feeling, to share with others, both verbally and non-verbally, what it is we're feeling. Of course, when it is appropriate and reasonable to do so. And so we're here to talk about emotional expression, and I want to start with why it matters. But I want to make this bigger than why Jen thinks it matters. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you all think about why should people care? Why should people be paying attention to? Why should we be working to today and forever create that space of disclosure, to allow people to understand what it is we're feeling? Why does it matter? What connections can you help us make? Because there are some of us on this call today looking for ways to personally enhance the space. So you need to know why it matters. There are some of us that are not only here to do that, but maybe to help others in our orbit do the same. So let's together talk about that messaging. How can we convince people to see it and its importance? I love what I'm seeing up here. Keep it coming. It's the building blocks for trust, Kathy. Yes, 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 Jonathan. It deepens relationships. It's such an important part of relationship building. Yes, yes, yes. Knowing where you stand with others. Bonnie, absolutely. We're going to talk about that in just a short while, building off of that. Elizabeth allows us to authentically connect with one another. Yes. Larry increases connectivity. Yes. It helps us be heard. It connects us in that space of empathy. We aren't robots, Jennifer. We're not. And keeping it coming. Yes, yes, yes. Love, love, love this. Let's keep that coming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to share these data with you so that you continue to reflect on its importance. Those of you who are doing work with others, you'll be able to maybe take a look at some of these data and use them in the work that you do, helping people see why this matters so much. This thing we call emotional expression, our ability to create transparency, visibility, awareness around what we're feeling, both verbally and non-verbally, matters so much for all of the reasons you say. It's a critical part of building relationships, of building trust. It's a critical part of our being understood, engaging with others and making that connection. And on the other side of all that we're saying that is reasons to pay attention, what I want to also boldly call out is when we don't step into the space effectively, what can easily happen is we can create a space of disconnect, of misunderstanding, of miscommunication, mistrust. And so let's today talk about moving away from any of those things I just put out there and doing more of what you're saying here. How can we move forward really leaning into this space effectively? What I'd like to be able to do with you today is to talk to you about a few different things for you to consider, some points of reflection, some exercises or activities that you might be able to move forward, either sharing those with others or personally adopting them yourself. And so I'm going to quick hit you with some things around emotional expression, starting with this. Words are just so powerful. And so our ability to emotionally express effectively has so much to do with the words we put out into our world. And So I want you to think very deeply about how you currently are using them and if there's room for you to use them more wisely. One of the things we talked about last week was being sure that before you decide how you are going to move forward, you decide what it is you feel and why you feel that way. I want to pull that back into our conversation today because I can't tell you how many people I personally coach who don't do what's up on the screen, who don't pause and think about first before they share what it is they feel and why they feel it that way. They're out there sharing, I feel really angry. And actually, that's not what they really feel. And so effective emotional expression has to be rooted in your what and your why. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling that way? Emotional self-awareness is critical for our effectively stepping into that expression space. And so I encourage you to consider your words and to also, like we talked about last week, build your emotional vocabulary. You can more effectively express yourself when you have access to a rich emotional vocabulary. It allows you to move beyond those basic emotional words like I'm happy or I'm sad to get into a level of specificity that can very much enhance that emotional expression space. Instead of simply saying, I'm happy, might you actually bring a more granular approach to that and tell somebody not just that you're happy, but you're happy because you're inspired, you feel optimistic. The wider your vocabulary is, the bigger it is, the more specificity you can get to. Those words can make such a difference in your expression. And so Googling feeling wheels, mood words, we talked about that last week. Consider it as part of also effective emotional expression. Next thing to consider is it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Are you paying attention to your tone, your pace, your nonverbal expressions? I want to talk about that tone and that pace. Let me give you this as an example. If you came to me and said you'd like to share with me some of what happened yesterday to you, and I said, yes, I'm very interested in hearing that. Or I said, yes, I'm very interested in hearing that. The message I send to you about my interest is very much received differently just based on the tone that I use. Yes, I'm very interested. Yes, I'm very interested. Same exact words, but the way in which I put it out to you was completely different, and therefore you heard it differently. Are you paying attention to your tone, the pace at which you're putting things out there? In my family, we have a statement that is this. My family will tell me, Mom, you're using your facilitator voice. And what was happening, this has been years in the making, and still it can happen if I'm not careful, is that I would bring to our family space my work voice. And so when I facilitate, I'm very expressive, and I actually use inflection, and I'm loud. And so I'd come home and my husband would say, are you ready for dinner? And I would say, yes, I'm eager to have tacos. Well, that was being picked up because of the pace and the tone at which I brought it as sarcasm. My husband would say, Really? You're that eager to have tacos? Are you being sarcastic? I would say to my daughter, Isabella, I was so surprised to get your text. And that was being received as, Mom, why are you yelling at me? Are you mad at me? And so I needed those data. I needed that outside perspective to help me see that my facilitator voice was actually sending a message I wasn't intending to send. So are you paying attention to not only the choice of words that you're sharing, but tone, pace, nonverbal expressions? They matter so much. In addition to the tone, the pace, the nonverbals, I want you to think about this important space as well. What is your current range of emotional expression? Some of us have what I would call a rather narrow range of expression. And to get you to see or make the connection with what that might be, let me take it out of the workplace and back into my family. Let me show you my 17-year-old son. Here's a picture from just a few days ago, and so those of you that are fishermen may know that opening season just started, and my son caught one of the biggest striped bass he's ever caught a couple days ago, and he wanted to show me the picture of how happy he was to catch that fish. That was his I'm so happy face. Here is his I'm so frustrated, I do not want to take a picture with my sister face. Okay, so frustrated. Here's his I am so excited to eat that fried ice cream that is in front of me face. And here's a picture to show how disenchanted he was because we had been stranded in an airport for hours, and my husband was elsewhere and said, how are you all feeling? And so I said to AJ, let's take a picture and show Dad how we're feeling. Well, we were both very disenchanted. That's my 17-year-old son's disenchanted face. This is mine. And so Beth is calling out, he has the same faces. Yes, Beth, he does. What you see here for my 17-year-old son is excitement and happiness and disenchantment and frustration actually all kind of look the same. There is such a narrow range of emotional expression, it can be hard to read. You don't really know what's going on. And that can be hard to be on the receiving end. I'm working them hard, friends. I have some more time with them, pointing out to him that it can be hard to read. There are some question marks. And poker faces are great when you're playing poker, but maybe not so much in other aspects of life. And so I want you to consider, what is your range? I don't suggest that you need to have all that's up here on the screen, but I do want you to think about, is there room to widen that range? Range, tone, pace, those nonverbal expressions. Are you thinking about them? Are you paying attention? Because they can matter so much to make sure you're creating a space of connection and one of transparency and visibility around what it is you really feel. The last big thing I want you to think about is this. If this man were to say to you that he felt really excited, really confident about what he was about to do, some of us, I think most of us, might actually say, really? What? Is it really that confident and looking forward to and excited about doing whatever it is he's about to do? Are you paying attention to the the message you're sending non-verbally and the message you're sending verbally, are they actually sending the same message? And so often what can happen is it's a space of misalignment. If we're not careful, it's incongruent. I'm sending mixed signals. And so are you or others in your world maybe having an opportunity to really pay attention to making sure those are saying or sending the same message? Finally, is this to think about. I tell clients this all the time, and I have to tell myself this as well, and folks in my world. Emotional expression is important for all of the reasons y'all put up there. It's a space of connection, and it's critical to trust and building relationships. It is sharing what we feel, and if you aren't doing that, you aren't sharing with others what it is you feel, are you almost creating a space where you're giving people permission to write your story for you? You're in a staff meeting and you feel really confused, and maybe you're even facial expressions are supporting that that's the way you feel. You get up and leave. The rest of the folks are left in that staff meeting. You didn't tell them you felt confused, but you know what? Someone picked up on it and actually shared with the group, holy cow, did you see how pissed Jen was? She was so mad. I want you to consider, if you don't share your story, are others sharing it in the way you would want it to be shared? Are they writing your narrative, and is it accurate? So emotional expression is important for all the reasons we say, and this is another reason, because that misunderstanding, that misinterpretation is a thing, and others can write your story. Don't give them too many opportunities to do that. Sometimes they get it right, and maybe sometimes not so much. How do we create a space where we actually can more effectively step in and use a space of emotional expression? Well, we need to invite feedback into our world. We need to give people permission to let us know when maybe our nonverbals and our verbals aren't aligned. We need to ask people questions like, hey, in that last meeting, did I come across as frustrated because or as confused? What were you picking up on? Ask for that feedback and give people permission to give you the feedback as you move forward. The onus is on both parties, of course, in interpretation, but it needs to start with you. Are you creating a space where that dialogue can happen? You have to practice, and so creating that muscle memory around how to create the space of visibility and transparency is critical. Are you actually practicing? Because the only way it will feel more comfortable is if you actually do it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be with doing it. I want to now pivot to your sharing with the rest of us your thoughts here. I'm going to switch the screen. I am so interested if you all have any resources that you would offer to the rest of the group. We have hundreds of people on our call today. Yay! What has helped you personally? What have you offered to maybe some clients? Are there books? Are there articles? Are there TED Talks? Are there points of reflection that you think are critical to consider in the space of developing a stronger connection to emotional expression? Christy Nelson, gosh, so good to have you here. Improv and acting lessons. Yes, I love that. Bonnie, Susan Cates, Quiet Life Change, awesome book. Yes, yes, yes. Andy, use your phone to video and ask somebody to video. I love that, Andy. Yes. Journaling. Yes. The Mood Meter, Sarah. Yes, yes, yes. It's an amazing app. If you had not heard of the Mood Meter, 99 cents through the App Store. Very good. Amy Cuddy's TED Talk around presence. So good. Jane's book right now. God, the places that scare you. Love it. Keep those resources coming. If you have them, please consider sharing with us. I will pull these together and we will send these your way. As you are continuing to share, what I'd like to do is to pull into the screen here right below my face some other resources and links to other stuff if you'd like. Some of you are not EQI certified and may be interested in taking a closer look at the tool. And so that link there with EQ certification dates would give you some more information. Take a look there. We have a newsletter that goes out. We have a blog. And so we write a lot about the importance of emotional intelligence. And so if you've not checked out our blog, we'd love for you to do so. The link there is for you to sign up and to get some notifications. And please consider connecting with us on LinkedIn if you've not already done so. We would love to be able to stay connected to you through that platform as well. I want you to continue to keep those resources coming because I've given you some things to shove in your back pocket, and we didn't in any way touch on everything out there, and so these are important, and I want you to make sure you give those to us. I also want to create a space of questions, and so we're getting ready to come to our 11:30 mark, and these sessions are designed to be a quick hit, a 30-minute hit on some content and some resources. If you have any questions and you'd like to stay over, I'm gonna do some question and answer for a short while. So please feel free to stay with me if you can. If you have to run off, and I know some of you do, thank you for carving out the time and being with me here today. I'm really delighted to see each and every one of you, and I'm most hopeful that you'll consider coming back next week for our third part on this 5-part series. Please stay safe, healthy, take care of yourselves, have an amazing weekend, and I sure hope our paths cross again one day real soon. For those of you that can stay, please stay. I'm going to pivot us to some question and answer here in this next. Bye-bye. Oh, so good to see all of you. So good to see all of you. Keep those coming questions if you have those. I'm eager to take on a few of those. Anybody have any questions that you might want to explore together? Thank you, Nancy. So glad you're here. Robin, yes, thank you. Any questions? I'm interested in questions. I'm going to pivot us to this next space here so that we can pull up questions and all right, I am going to okay, so Harris says, good. Harris, what is your favorite activity for working on emotional expression? And so Harris, a lot of the resources, Harrison Gang, a lot of the resources that were offered are some of my favorites. Things like journaling is a really powerful way to begin to sit with what are you feeling, why might you feel that way, and then how might you articulate it. Putting those dots together, connecting those dots is really critical, and doing so in a space that is safe, like through journaling, can be really important. But it needs to move beyond the written page, and you're actually putting that out into the world. And so some folks said acting or improv. Some folks said actually role playing. I think those are really great. Those are really great way. I think that asking someone that is a trusted colleague if you could talk some things through around what it is you're feeling is another great exercise. So those are some of the things that I think are really important ways forward in the development there. I want to read, let's see here. And y'all have to forgive me because there's so many different things going on in the chat pod, and I love that and I've lost my place. Hermika Ray, oh, I'm so glad to see you here, Hermika. Oh, it's been years. Hermika, I have to show you this if you're still here. I still have this journal that you got me. Thank you. Love that. Let me see. Sarah Happel, can you talk a bit about the EQI tool? I don't know it. Absolutely, would love to do that, Sarah. The EQI instrument it was developed to capture and to quantify our connection and our engagement to 16 different elements of social emotional functioning. It allows us to see through that quantification how connected and engaged we are, how easy it is to step in and use these different spaces, and then what kind of feedback that might yield, so that insight that is around how we're showing up, and how that might be contributing to our success or getting in our way. But the EQI is also a very actionable tool. The insight is important, but leaving it there is a mistake. How do we do something about it? How can we move the dial, if you will? It's through that instrument you can begin to explore all of those different things. And so I'm hopeful if you've not taken a look at it, maybe you will. It's some good stuff. One of my most favorite instruments I'm certified to administer. Thank you for that question. Pam, how can I access EQ Part 1? On our website, you will find a video of that Part 1, and so you will get, as a follow-up to this session, an email. In that email, it'll take you to that page where you can find a recording for Part 1. So that'll be there for you. Andy, what is the line between forcing emotional expression if it's not natural to you and being authentic? I think that's a really important question that you ask, Andy. And so forcing emotional expression, this is why a lot of times too, Andy, I get some pushback. Nope, don't want it, don't need it, don't bring it around here, because it's oftentimes misunderstood. And so emotional expression could be my saying to you, oh, Hermika, I just like you so much, you make my heart smile. That is emotional expression, but it need not be. Andy, what emotional expression could also be is once again, as I used that example earlier, it could be as benign as sharing with people in a staff meeting. You know, I'm feeling confused right now. I'm not sure where we're going, and so I need to ask if we can push pause, because I'm not quite picking up on what y'all are putting out. And so forcing emotional expression and remaining authentic, that's a really great question. But sometimes what the tension is I can't actually tell someone I'm so scared or I'm so happy that that I'm about to burst. Well, but can you tell them can you create some transparency around other emotional words that perhaps are more comfortable? And so that's, I think, really important, because authenticity is also just a really critical part about building a relationship and trust. And so thank you for that, Andy. Carolyn, I'm working with a physician who believes she can't be emotionally expressive at work because of the fast pace and professionalism required. She scored low in emotional expression. Any coaching ideas? Carolyn, so physicians who can't be because of the professionalism and the fast pace. Once again, I think that what I said to Andy's question is true here. There is oftentimes a misconception around what emotional expression is. Therefore, it takes too much time, and it's not professional, is some of the pushback we get. And so, Carolyn, I think one of the very most important things to do is to make sure you create an understanding around what emotional expression really is and ways in which people can express themselves emotionally. It need not be time consumptive to share. It need not be unprofessional. Should that physician go in and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I am so scared"? No. But could that physician go in and say to the nurses in that space, I'm concerned, just like you are. I'm worried. And even though that's true, I know we're going to find our way forward. Let's do this. Together we are going to go forward. And so that's quick. It takes no time. It's letting people see what you're feeling. And so I think those are really important in the coaching space. Is just the definition of what emotional expression is needs to be clarified. And so thank you for that. That's a really great question. I have students periodically do mirror checks to see what their face is telling the world and reflect on how they're feeling in that moment. Beth, love that idea. Yes, yes, yes. Very great. Let's see here. Inner works. Yes, Harvika. Elizabeth, how can we access a summary of our conversation comments during our webinar? Will they be mailed? The conversation that we're having, actually, this is recorded, Elizabeth, and so you'll actually be able to see all of this conversation in that recording. I also will be sending some of those resources in electronic form through email. So 2 different ways in which you will be able to do that. Jose, self-expression is a lot like self-awareness, at least as you described it in the last webinar. What is the difference? And so, Jose, self-awareness is really about what it is you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. Being able to connect the dots. I'm feeling angry because X has happened. Emotional expression, when it's effective, builds off of that first block. And so you're figuring out what it is you're feeling and why that might be leads to your sharing those data. And so emotional expression is about putting that out there. Self-awareness is about spending the time sitting with the what and the why so that you know best how to articulate that. And so it's a really important sequence. Unfortunately, sometimes that sequence doesn't happen. I'm hopeful that cleared it up a bit. Barb, while I easily identify my emotions and consider how to communicate them, my ISTP spouse does not, and almost responds in the opposite way that I've expressed. It's been 3 years, but the energy it takes is exhausting, and I think that, Barb, that can be so difficult. I'm married to an INTJ, And and so we have had to work for quite some time, and it's a work in progress around how I come to the space of expression differently than he does, and that's okay. And is there room for him to widen that range, and is there room for me to be more tolerant and accepting of the range he naturally brings? It is my being dissatisfied with what he's putting into the world oftentimes says a lot about me a lot more about me than it does him, and so I've had to wrestle with that. My communicating with him, the message he sends to me and what I'm picking up on has allowed us to widen his range some, and so thank you for sharing that. I wish I had all of the answers to how that can show up in a marriage and what to do about it. It's a work in progress. I get it. And so I see that, and I'm sure that I have missed some questions, and I know that I've kept you all from the 11:30 deadline, and so I want to begin to wrap this up. I will be looking back through some of these questions, and we at OKA are considering how, after this 5-part series, to pull together some of these questions that perhaps went unanswered, some of these questions that really could open up powerful exploration opportunities, and how we'll pull folks back together to make sure we're getting y'all answers. Until that time, what I want to do is to encourage you, please, to reconnect with us each week during this series, to begin to ask yourself some of the questions that were asked of during the platform today, and to just take care of yourselves. I am thinking of each of you as you navigate this space, and I'm really looking forward to next week when we can jump back on and explore once again together. Have an amazing Friday weekend, and I look forward to the paths crossing again real soon. Take care, friends. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank y'all so much.